May I have your attention, please? Thank you very much for joining us here at Crossword Bookstores. And we are all gathered here, particularly for a very engaging book, which certainly needs no introduction. But nevertheless, let's all get our attention down here to the center stage where it's all happening. So wherever you happen to be strolling around the bookstore, may I invite you to please take your places at the chairs, at the comfort. And at the same time, may I also humbly request you to kindly put your cellular phones on a preferable silence mode. Crossword aims to be a point where authors and poet whole court children are regaled and people just like all of us gravitate to be informed and enlightened. And this evening falls nothing short of that promise. So may I invite you one and all as we are all gathered here to kindly put our hands together and let's receive the author to our very special title, Nehal Sanghai, to join us at the table, the author to A Teenage Soul Through Ebb and Flow. And as we have the author here alongside with the book, which is all wrapped up and very shortly to be unveiled, this all would not have been possible if it weren't for the publishers who have a very grand contribution to making this evening possible and so also the book. I'd like to bring your attention to Mr. Rajesh Jain, who's here on behalf of the publishers. He's the publisher and owner of Janus Advisory Services. Congratulations to you, Mr. Jain, and the publishing work. And we'd like to say a big thank you with a very special felicitation to be presented to you by Mr. Sumit Sanghai. May I invite you to please come forward and do the honors. Thank you very much, Mr. Rajesh Jain, and congratulations for the book. I'm going to hand it over to the publishers to deliver address very specially as a keynote address about the making of the book. So over to you, Mr. Jain.
Thank you so much, and thanks Sumit and the family. It's really a joy to be here for many, many reasons actually. First of all, something personal, I'm getting a bit nostalgic. My own book was launched in Games Corner Crossword in 2003, 18 years back actually. And so happy to be back here. I'm from Calcutta. And it's really such a surprise that a 16-year-old girl writing a book. Generally, when we see children of this age, we think that, oh, I have to tell her to read this book. She should read this book. This will be helpful to her. And here I find somebody who has written a book. And when the book came to me, I felt compelled to read it from beginning to end at one go. I mean, it was so engrossing at its raw form itself. I mean, it evolved into a proper book, which is a story in itself. And how demanding she is, that I realized when I took up the assignment. Midway through, I felt that what have I done? Have I done the right thing? Because she keeps on asking this, that, the cover is not good, the inside is not good. No, I don't want this name, I don't like this name, I want this name to be there. But that depth was really very, very impressive. As you will go through the book, you will realize that what kind of emotions she has captured. It has been a story. Nobody can write this book at one go. This much I can tell you. Because it has come from the core of the heart actually. All those experiences she has lived. And that's the power of poetry actually. Poetry captures. Poetry lasts. It is a very easy medium of communication. I'm not a poetry person actually. I'm more a prose person. But I can relate very well to, because it sticks with you. And this is what she did. I mean, 4 lines of the book, it impresses you, it remains with you all through your life actually. And this is how humanity has evolved also. Earlier the books were not there. Prose could not be retained in memory. So it is the poetry that survived our civilization, our culture, all those things. That's the power of poetry. And thanks Nehal to be a party to that journey of humanity and handing over. And I believe that she will take it long forward. And she is just such an amazing person actually, because I have been involved with her since early childhood. And I remember a particular word, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I mean, that's one word I never could have learned without her help actually. I don't know whether you remember that or not, because She would come, she was 8, 9 years old. And then she would come running, uncle, uncle, can you pronounce this word? And I was dumbfounded. How could I do it? I mean, then she'll say, "No, I'll teach you." And then she'll rhyme it in such a fashion, super duper, Cali Valley, like that she will do. And then I could sense a knack of poetry in her at that age. And then now she is a full grown author of a poetry book. And that came, and she is really paradoxical. I mean, she has amazing, she is fiercely competitive and compassionately friendly. I mean, I can say about her that she is as good in economics or mathematics or in finance, and equally good in, as you have seen, she has written poetry, so right brain, left brain, art, and she is good in dancing, she is good in sports. I mean, I mean, it amazes me because I know these people personally also. Sumit is a very focused person, very, very focused person. And Sunita is purely on the art side. And he is a finance guy, you know that actually very well. So she has got the genes from both of them, and that reflects everywhere. And her depth, her understanding of life from both sides, from a rational side as well as from the emotional sides, they all get clubbed together, and she has expressed very well nostalgia, pain, rebelliousness. She has been very honest also, to the extent that at times it will reach to your the core of your heart, sometimes very aggressive also, but the beauty is how she bounces back, how she converts everything into positive. Her resilience, because that's the right we all have got, to be what we are, to be the real person that we are. And she has been very honest about it. And that's because generally what happens when we expose ourselves, we try to get those facades. We don't try to be honest. We try to look good. No, she has been very honest, very authentic. And that's where youngsters and teenagers will be able to relate to. So the book, about the book itself, as you browse through the pages, you'll find that it's not a very boring kind of book. There are interesting images that she has picked up. I don't know from what sources. And then sometimes you will look at the image and then try to see how it connects to the poem. Sometimes you will read the poem and see how the image connects to it. And none of the images are very straightforward. Like, it's not that half glass full means half glass image is there. There's something else there actually. So that mysteriousness about the book is also very catchy. And then the idea, the way she articulated with the artist who was involved was an amazing experience. I really enjoyed actually. I became like a child who has picked up a paintbrush and then painting the thoughts here and there. I mean, that kind of thing was there. So I believe she came to me with some poetries, and then they came because I am myself an author, not with an idea that I will one day publish this book. But as we went by, suddenly I realized that this is a book I am going to publish, nobody else. So we went ahead with this, and the book is there. And I have a firm belief that some of the lines will last forever, and the book will stand where it is. Poetry books are rare, and this is a very interesting book, and I look forward to your response to it. And thanks, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jain. Certainly, after listening to that, it is much more than a poetry and a collection to an anthology. It seems so much of a suspense after hearing you, Mr. Jain. But it's going to certainly be a big pleasure as you get your hands on to that copy. I'd like to share with you that Mr. Rajesh Jain is an award-winning author himself. His widely acclaimed books, Gods Are Meeting You and You Are Invited. Gods Are Meeting and You Are Invited was also launched at Crossword, Kim's Corner. His book, Chains That Liberate, Governance of Family Firms, published by Macmillan India, won the Best Management Book of India Award for the year 2005-2006 by ISTD. He is also a leadership coach, an ethicist, an interfaith crusader, and has spoken on international forums like the Parliament of World Religion and Religion for Peace. And it was our pleasure to listen to you deliver a very special address on your interaction as a publisher. We have with us in the capacity and in the grand attendance of our chief guest, may I invite you to kindly put your hands together for Lubaina Bandukwala. Thank you very much, Lubaina, for being here with us. I'd like to share with you a few words. We have a felicitation here with a bouquet of flowers. And to do the honors, I'm going to invite Sunita to please come forward. Sunita Sanghai, thank you very much. A big thank you for joining us, Lubaina.
Sure.
And one more reason why I wanted to have Lubaina arrested here at the table is because I'd like to share with you, she has contributed magnanimously and wholeheartedly to the works of children's collection, and as a curator, an editor, and whatever you have with literature. Lubaina is a children's author and editor, and many of you would know she founded the Pika Book Literature Festival for Children to promote the love of reading and discovering Indian children's books. She has curated literary events at the Kalagoda Arts Festival, the CSMVS Museum, and at many schools. Particularly, she enjoys supporting young writers as they set off on their new writing adventures. And I'm sure she's going to share with us a few of those experiences as we get engaged in the conversation, because she is here to be also in the very engaging conversation alongside with our author and the person in Nehal. But for the moment, may I pause and may I invite the family of the author, Mr. Sumit, Mrs. Sunita Sanghai, along with Vaibhav, the brother to the author, to please join us. Coming along also the publisher, Mr. Rajesh Jain. May I invite you all to kindly jointly have your presence here at the dais as we proceed to officially launch the book here at Crossword.
I think it's better if she can be part of. Shall we go down? So yeah. Man also.
You can go down. Okay, then you'll get the mic. Keep the mic down.
You want to come on this side?
We can have you in the center.
No, let author is there. I just thought in case you wanted to be there.
So for all you readers here in Crossword as well as everywhere across the country, here's presenting to you A Teenage Soul through Ebb and Flow from the hands of our author Nehal Sanghai, alongside with the publisher Mr. Rajesh Jain and our chief guest Lubaina Bandukwala. Thank you very much for being here with us and doing the honors to present the book. While we are also delighted to have with us the family of the author, Mr. Sumit, Mrs. Sunita Sanghai, and Vaibhav. May I invite you to kindly unwrap the copy and let's have it presented. A big round of applause from all our readers out here in Crossword Bookstores. Thank you very much for joining us.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to you, Nehal, as the author to the title, A Teenage Soul Through Ebb and Flow, and to the publishers at Janus Advisory Services, Mr. Rajesh Jain. I also would like to keep you posted that in case you would like to, in future, if not today, pick up a copy for yourself, the books are available through Crossword Bookstores at crossword.in. So don't forget, you can also pick up a copy, if not today, a little later, online, crossword.in. A big thank you to our guest here for the book launch, the family of the author.
Shall we go back up? Okay. Sure. And Nihal? Yeah. No, you will be introducing her, right? Yeah. I'll go from that side.
When it's a 16-year-old writing a book, it has to be a family affair.
Of course. Even if you're 100, it has to be a family affair.
But somehow this
And the family is all inclusive, not only the immediate family, it's the extended family and the friends and the neighbors, and I think everyone who's come maybe as far as from the east and the west of India. So without much ado, a big thank you to the family and friends who have joined us here and have been applauding the launch of the book and of course the works through it. I'd like to take this opportunity to also share with you a few words about what to look forward to with the book. As the title goes, A Teenage Soul Through Ebb and Flow, an anthology by a passionate teenager conveying a wide range of experiences while sailing through the ebb and flow of adolescence. The poems included in this collection underline the challenges, setbacks, and accomplishments of an amateur poet whose heart yearns for childhood memoirs while embarking on a crusade for discovering the true meaning of success and happiness. And we're going to find out more about her thoughts, Nehal's vision, and of course her passion. I'd like to share with you, while this program is much to talk about Nehal Sanghai as the author of the book, we take this opportunity to also understand a little bit more about Nehal, the person. So Nehal is a 16-year-old student of Cathedral and John Connon School, Mumbai. She has achieved perfect scores several times in national level exams, demonstrating her academic brilliance. She has been nominated for various leadership positions in Cathedral and John Connon School and has received the All-Round Award for consecutive years in her old school as well, Modern High School for Girls in Kolkata. She has also written research papers on economics and public measures undertaken by the Indian government to fight COVID. She has also published a research paper analyzing the intersection between gender equality and the corporate world. She has been actively working to support the community in various ways through promoting financial literacy. She's a rare combination of what you would look forward to in financial acumen and creative expression. Today, the book is adding one more leaf to her book of accomplishments, which are forever growing. So congratulations, and may we all put our hands together for that very elaborate repertoire of accomplishments and much to look forward to in the future. But for the moment, I'm going to hand it over to Lubaina to discover and unwrap more about the book, and Nihal as well. Over to you.
Thank you. I must tell you, I'm feeling a bit awed here, in the presence of someone who has accomplished so much in such a short while. My, of course, realm of expertise in finance that's a number I know really well, 0. But otherwise, I had the pleasure of reading your book over the past 2 days. And I think what struck me was, as Mr. Jain mentioned, the honesty and the authenticity and the incredible range of emotions and situations that you have, managed to capture in one of the most difficult literary forms. Because poetry is not easy, prose is not as well, but poetry is particularly difficult because you have to distill the essence of what you have to say in a very few words, basically. So, like they say about all books, windows and mirrors. So this book is a window into what you're thinking, but I'm sure that a lot of teenagers will find that you're holding up a mirror to what, their journey might be. And that's what, poetry is all about, saying, that's me, that's something I said, that's something I feel. So congratulations. Wonderful, wonderful work.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Thank you. And thank you, Rajesh uncle, as well, for your kind words. I'm truly flattered.
Well deserved. So, okay. It's quite a lot of poems in there. When did you actually start writing them?
So I've been writing since I was very young. Like Rajesh uncle mentioned, I always had that knack for poetry, like just rhyming cat, mad, bat. But I think this collection of poems has been written over the past year.
Okay.
Actually, the pandemic gave me a huge opportunity to kind of write these poems. Just the paper was a blank canvas for my thoughts.
Yeah.
So I think this collection has been written in the past year, but I've been writing poetry. Some of them have been published, all of that since quite a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the pandemic was a great time to actually, sit down and do things that you wouldn't have time to do otherwise. And a lot of reflection, I think, that happened during that time. I was just wondering, a lot of the poems talk about very personal things, in terms of, friendship or even seasons or ambition and things like that. Is there anything that you would like, any particular poem that sort of, is special to you and means something to you?
So I would say that each of my poems are pretty special because I think each of them have an entire backstory behind them. But I think if I had to choose one, it would be the poem, which is in fact also there on like the cover leaf of my booklet, which is called.
Do you want to read a bit of it?
Sure, sure. So I'll just say the backstory
Sure.
and I'll read like a couple paras from it. So it's on like the cover of my book as well, and it's called "Keep Your Chin Up, Little Girl." So I think I wrote it during a time when I was kind of stressed, and it was at that time I kind of wrote this poem with the vision that if I had to tell this to my younger self, if I had to tell it to a younger sister, what would I say if she's feeling hopeless, if she's feeling down? So I think I kept this in view while writing the poem, and I'll just read out a couple paras, stanzas from it.
Do you need help?
Oh, no, it's good. Okay. So, keep your chin up, little girl. Keep your chin up, little girl. Don't ever stop to dream. You are not yet aware of your potential. You can do wonders with the team. Keep your chin up, little munchkin, even if some people try to put you down. Understand that things always won't go right, but that shouldn't make you frown. Keep your chin up, little survivor. You have a lot of complex situations to face. You know that it's okay to break down sometimes. You don't always have to put on a strong face. Keep your chin up, little one, and know that it's okay to feel. Be humble and polite, but before anyone cruel or arrogant, never kneel. Keep your chin up, little achiever, because you'll make your dear ones proud. Don't lift your feet from the ground, even if you reach the cloud.
Lovely. It speaks volumes to a mother of a teenager when there are moments of vulnerability that bring out the need to speak something like that. That was lovely, very touching.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it. So, when you actually, write your poem, I suppose, do you just sit down and write it, or does it go through a series of stages in a particular manner that you write it, or?
Right. So I think it's quite interesting how my brain works when it comes to writing poems, because people my age, when they are in like an overwhelming situation, whether it's like very happy or like just feeling a little down, they would usually look for either like a solution or just like enjoy that moment. And somehow my brain just finds a way, it's like wired in the way that it just starts creating like rhymes on its own.
Oh, wow.
To kind of just like write down that moment. Or for example, when I'm feeling down, instead of looking for a solution, as I said, I'll start thinking of lines of poems.
Oh, wow.
And then, I always have my phone with me, being a teenager. So I just open the notes app on my phone, a blank canvas, and I just start writing, whether it's ranting, whether it's just expressing how happy I am, or just capturing the essence of a moment, I do that. And sometimes when I kind of need to find a solution or need advice from my own self, then I kind of just rant on the notes app, moderate it, and that's where my rational part comes into play. Like Rajesh uncle said before, the paradox of my personality. So the emotional part of me, after it's done ranting on the notes app, the rational part of me comes into play and kind of finds a positive solution, just like a way out of it. So I think that's how most of my poems have been written. Like, all of them are definitely anecdotal. All of them have a story behind it. But I think that's kind of the stage. So, like, my brain is just wired to work that way.
So that's book number 2, sir. The anecdotes, the poems behind the poems. So that's wonderful. It's almost like a form of therapy, isn't it?
For sure.
Self-therapy. You just
for
write
sure.
it and figure it out, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when you look at it, do you think, okay, I want somebody else to read it, or,
Yeah, I do actually. So like any poem I write, I have like a list of 4 to 5 friends who I send it to, whether they read it or not. So I just
Okay.
I write the poem, like the first draft I write, I just like select all, send it to them, and I'll just wait for their reviews. And it's like the same thing. Oh, yeah, good solution. Yeah, good poem. So it's kind of the work is done. What I had to finding a solution or just capturing the essence of a moment. And for sure, that external validation does feel good from my own friends.
How lucky to have a sounding board, that can get back with you.
I'm very grateful for them. Like, there are days when I write like 5 poems and they are just like spammed with my poems. So for
But
sure.
I'm sure that they enjoy reading them and relate to them as well. I think the thing that people require of writers is to say into words that they can't put in themselves,
Right.
So I think it's when people write things that resonate with you, you're like, send me more. I really want to know. I want you to tell me how I'm feeling, So
Right.
yeah, I can imagine. Another thing that I really liked about the book was the sort of cover and the name. Can you tell me a little bit first about, how you came about the title? And I see that you had some interesting tussles with your publisher about the artwork. So I would love to know more about, the cover.
Right. So I think first of all, for the title, it was like a huge task. Like, there were like thousands of options, and
Yeah.
I kind of tried to keep a title which wasn't taken already. So it would be
Right.
like completely original, and it would be like my work. So I think, so I had the phrase ebb and flow in my mind from before, but I think there was already something related to ebb and flow, simply ebb and flow. And then again, like my elders suggested that why don't you make it something which is like more personal and yet timeless? And then we came up with this entire phrase, a teenage soul through ebb and flow. So I would just like to share one instance. Like, we were battling between a teenager through ebb and flow and a teenage soul through ebb and flow. And we went with that particular phrase, a teenage soul, because when I would say a teenager, it would segregate me from the crowd and it would just be me. But when I talk about a soul, it's basically the crux of our being, the common human emotions which everyone experiences, whether that's vulnerability, happiness, sadness, excitement. So I think just having that, a teenage soul who is actually slowly maturing and growing and will always keep learning, keep growing, was like really important for me. And then of course the part of ebb and flow, which I think everyone would agree that like life
Yeah.
does have ups and downs.
Yeah.
There are moments, there are high moments, there are low moments. So I think it was like a pretty good phrase that had
Yeah.
a nice ring to it. So we came to
Yeah.
this title.
Lovely. I love what you said about the soul. It sort of makes it a collective experience rather
Right.
than a personal one, basically. So that's lovely. And what about the artwork of the cover? It's really striking. And actually, no, I'm going to let you talk about it. So.
Sure. So like as the cover is here already, you guys can see it. So it was about a teenager. So I think the whole concept of a girl being there and all these things going on in her mind was kind of important, and I also wanted to connect it to the title of the poem. I wanted it to reflect what my book truly stands for, what my poems and my title truly stands for. So I think that's how we slowly came about the idea of this cover with a girl and everything going on in her mind. You can see the waves going up and down, and they gradually, all the, what do you say, the storm,
Yeah.
restlessness kind of calms down while when it reaches the mouth of the girl. And that's what I think my poems do for me. They kind of help me put aside all my thoughts, all my restlessness, and they sum it up pretty well. And of course the bird is just any teenager, not just me, who aims to learn, grow and fly, because the world is our oyster, and definitely like the sky is our limit today.
Yeah.
So that.
And you're lucky to be able to have the wings you need to fly as
Right. I'm
high
very
as you
grateful
like.
for that.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. You mentioned that you wrote this thing during the pandemic. Did you see the pandemic as a sort of an opportunity to, I know that it was a difficult time for most teenagers. Were you able to convert it into something positive and, as an opportunity rather than slightly depressing time for many?
I would believe so. Like, although it was quite a chaotic time for not just me, not just my family, everyone around the world, I think I I would definitely see the pandemic as a great opportunity, and I'm very grateful for the opportunities I did get during the pandemic. I got a lot of time for introspection, which was kind of much needed given the huge changes I had gone
Yeah.
through, the shifting cities and everything.
Yeah.
I never really had, like, for the past couple years, I had been just running around chasing my goals, and I think pandemic was a much needed stop for introspection and just improving myself, and instead of just chasing my goals. So I think definitely that. And honestly, I would just believe that my poems are just like a collateral result of everything that I worked on during the pandemic, whether it was my health, my mind, everything, just being there with my family, missing my friends. So I think the poems were just like an emotional outlet for me. They were a form of catharsis. So I think that's how this book came about. And to be honest, I never aimed to publish a book. I used to write poems just to get my thoughts out of my mind or just to capture the essence of a moment. And then, well, you have the results right here.
So now pretty much whenever you write, your one part is your emotional, that's writing out beautiful poems. The other part is thinking, is this publishable? You know, I got to send this off to a publisher. Well, that's what you should do, really. You know.
Right. I agree with you, but somehow that doesn't work for me. Like, honestly, like I didn't write any poems after I sent this set. So there's like no new additions in this set. So these are like completely honest and vulnerable poems with like complete, like just grammatical errors, because like when you rant, you make errors. But like I think these are like completely raw and vulnerable, and because I never had the aim that anyone else would be reading it, I would be publishing it. I don't think there has been any, what do you say, pretension or that back of my mind thought that, oh, I need to send it to someone else to read it.
Yeah.
So I think that these are like kind of the real me, and I never had that second thought of I have to send it to someone, so I'm going to change it a bit.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily change it, but sometimes when you write something, you feel like you want to share it with a wider audience. You know,
I
and
actually
then you
never had that. So like my poems are like my personal diary.
yeah.
So when you read my poems, like although I've written them in a way so that other people could connect as well, but they are like my personal diary. So when you read my poems, not only will you like see a mirror of your own self in some of the poems, relate to some of them, but also you will just see a direct window into my soul.
Yeah. See, that's really amazing that you can put yourself out there. You know, that's it can be difficult. So amazing that you did it. So I know that, you know, you're doing your 11th and your 12th right now. So much going on. I know the ISE is a very demanding board. And so, you know, everything is scattered because something is offline, something's online. And you're applying probably to a lot of colleges. So you have huge demands on your time. You managed to find time to write poetry?
For sure. Honestly, if I'm not able to write poems, then I can't do any other work. Like, I'll be honest. Because poems, like I said, are my personal diary. And I'm the kind of person who needs to find a balance between the left and right sides of my brain. And if sometimes something is stressing me and it's playing on my mind again and again, I can't really focus on other work. And I hate that I can't focus on something else. So I think, like I've already said, that poetry is like an emotional outlet for me. And I write poems not with a scheduled time that, okay, I have to write about this. I just write about what I'm feeling. So it doesn't take me more than like 7-8 minutes to write one poem. It's just like my rant solution done, and like that work is done.
Let's get on with the, you know.
So I don't think I had to find the time for poems, but they just come to me naturally, for sure.
Amazing, amazing. What is your wish for this book, actually? Do you have any sort of wish for it?
Right. So, well, although I never thought I'd be publishing a book, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity that I have like such supportive people around me. And well, any professional author would kind of hope for financial success and all of that, but that's kind of secondary for me at this point. And I think my main wish for this book is that whoever the readers are, the audience I'm able to reach, I just hope they are able to find themselves in my poems, because I hope they can find comfort, conclusions, inspirations, nostalgia, all the feelings which I'm trying to convey. I really hope they can find themselves and relate to my poems. And well, honestly, from the people who have read my book, who've given me feedback, the most fulfilling thing I've heard is that, oh my God, this is something I've gone through. Oh my God, this is so relatable. So I think that's like the most fulfilling part of publishing this book, and I really hope that whoever reads it, there's like a wide range of poems. So whoever reads it, I hope they're able to find some piece of themselves in my book.
Lovely. Some connection that,
Yeah.
that's
For sure.
it's a beautiful goal. That's the essence of what writers do, basically, So, do you have any message for teenagers here, around the world, whoever, reads or doesn't read?
Right, so that's an interesting question. And I think the one thing I've learned the hard way is that just follow your heart. Honestly, at any cost, it might sound cliche, but please follow your heart. And one of my poems also talk about chasing happiness instead of success. And although I haven't experienced like the major, extreme grievance of life, but from the little I have gone through, the little I've experienced, I think that's something I have also personally started doing, that I'll do what I love doing and I'll find happiness out of that. Because if I excel at what I love doing, success will follow.
Absolutely.
And I think one more thing which is very important and I've learned from people around me is that whatever I want to achieve, if I have the talent, that's fine. But besides that, the two things which are very important are my positive attitude and consistency. Because
Consistency,
yeah,
yes.
for sure. So like the ebbs and flows will come and go. Like they will come and go. But what flattens out and makes it an increasing, linear line towards success is your consistency and the positive attitude you have. That does not mean that you undermine your grievance or your failure or whatever sadness, but that just means that you have the ability, you have the thing to overcome it in you.
Lovely. Did you say you're 16? Couldn't possibly be. No. No. This is far, very wise advice. I haven't learned that yet. So, and I'm not even going to tell you how old I am. So, but that is really wonderful. I'm happy to have the opportunity to know more about you, your work, and how beautifully you connect with the world through your work. Does anybody have any questions for Nehal?
Yeah, kindly raise your hand and we'll have those questions accommodated. So it'll be nice if you share your name and then pose the question as well.
Hi, Nehal. I'm Shiraz, and
Hi.
I'm your opposite neighbor. When you spoke about, what is success for you in terms of your book, and you mentioned that, I want people to feel, to relate to it. I just want you to know that I read the book, and even though I'm not a teenager, I totally related to it. It took me back 30 years. And it's something that really kind of struck a chord. So to me, that book is already successful. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. That truly means a lot. Like just hearing these words, it does feel like the book is already successful.
The next question. Okay, as we get the next hand raised, if there's a next hand coming up also, I'd like to continue from where you left it at the table in that conversation. What compels me after being an observer of that engaging conversation is that, Nehal, there are many poets who have got the skill and they can be poetic in rhythm and rhyme and words. You can play around with it. But while we learn from your delivery of the insights, first is the element of the emotion which triggers your action. So there is the emotion, but the emotion does not pin you down. You grapple with the emotion and then you deliver something that's very creative. Now, that creativity is not just humor, it is something which is very philosophical. So I'd like to know, my question is now, from where does all that grand and rich philosophy come from?
Honestly, so I've never been much of a reader like my other friends, like reading fiction books or just reading like Roald Dahl, J.K. Rowling books. And I've actually loved reading books like You Can Win by Shiv Khera, like Who Moved My Cheese. So I think all of that inspiration comes from my father, who used to read these books, and I used to just like pick up his books, and I love reading them. So there's like a set collection of books I have which I just read over and over again, and all of them are inspirational books. And I've been teased by my friends as well that what kind of books are you reading? So I think that's where the inspiration comes from. And honestly, like I'm just like a product of my mom and dad. My mom is the creative one and my dad is the more focused, rational one. So I think it's just inherent from all that they've taught me, all the values that my school has instilled. So it's just like a byproduct of all of that altogether.
I think we should put our hands together for the wonderful upbringing of the parents and the contribution to not just their family, but I think to the public and to the world at large. So thank you very much to the Sanghai family for that. But let's continue from where you leave us. There is something about, peer group. When you're going and engaging with school and friends in your neighborhood, the environment, it could also be possible that a lot of children and teenagers have got a certain vision, they have a certain upbringing, they've got certain values. But the pressure of the peer group says, let's be on the bandwagon. But you have still stood your ground and your roots and have expressed your mind. So how do you find that resilience to stand your ground in the midst of all the peer companions? I'm not saying that it has to be negative, but definitely society is such that you get a mixed bag of everything.
Right, so that's an interesting question. And honestly, I never found it hard to stand my ground. I've always been a person who likes to express herself. And like this is not something which is harming anyone else. Like I'm just being me, I'm expressing my own thoughts. And this is something which is like helping me overcome something or helping me treasure something, even the happiest moments of my life, the saddest moments of my life, the best solutions I've found. So I don't think I ever faced any opposition from my friends or in fact anyone at all when it comes to poetry, because at some point or the other, like the book says, a teenage soul, we all teenagers have like the common crux of being human, and we all go through similar things. I wouldn't say same, because all of our journeys are entirely different. All of us are completely different individuals, but at the crux of it, all of us do go through like certain instances, certain feelings somehow or the other at like different levels. Not just, in fact, why just teenagers, even adults or kids. So we all go through those common feelings, and I think that's what I've tried to capture through my poems. And I don't think anyone would resist that, because that's something they themselves go through and that they can relate, because it's that honest and that vulnerable. Like you can identify with it. So I honestly, I'm very grateful to be surrounded by an amazing peer group who's like extremely supportive, and I've honestly never had trouble being myself. That's what one of my poems, Some Special People, also expresses, that I'm so grateful to have such encouraging and supportive people around me that I've never had to fear being my own authentic self. I can put myself out there and they would appreciate that, and they accept me as I am. So, yeah.
Any question from the rest of you at the chairs? I'm sure there would be many of you who have questions but would like to take it 1:1 also with the author.
Nehal, from your talks, probably I feel that I'm listening to a guru rather than a teenage student. Genuinely, you are throwing treasure trove of knowledge, wisdom, good words, spirituality, and all mixed in your talks. So just like enlighten us more about what you feel about spirituality. What is spirituality for you?
Okay, so spirituality for me is something which is very important for me. So it's not just religion. Like today, we see many instances where the world is segregated by religion, but I honestly think like my family has a certain religious path they follow, and I really appreciate that. I find comfort and peace in that. But like spirituality as a sense, again, I might be sounding a little preachy, but it's just connecting with your outer world and having faith and peace within yourself. Like whatever gives me comfort, whatever gives me peace is what spirituality is for me. Whether that's like just closing my eyes for 5 minutes with no one around and just like thanking God, thanking the universe for the opportunities I've gotten, and just I think it's just that. Like I really can't express what spirituality is, but it's just what gives you peace, what gives you mental peace, physical peace, just your own well-being. Like whichever way you get that through, whether that's meditation, whether that's dance therapy, whether that's like writing poems, or whether that's following a certain religious path. So I think spirituality is like very subjective, and I really can't define it, but it's whatever just gives you peace and makes you happy.
No, but you have defined it in the best possible manner, which many of us will not be able to do it. Thank you so much. Lovely words.
What about your brother? Does he like the poems you write?
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure, but like I think you'll have to ask that to him.
Because having two children, I know that your sibling is your biggest critic, or could be, and your biggest cheerleader. So, you know, I
think-
would like to know a little bit more about what you think of her poems.
Come on, Vaibhav, let's hear from you.
So, like whenever my sister used to write her poems, she used to be like, just go to sleep, I'll write my poems and I'll also sleep. But sometimes I used to have interest. So, if my sister would be on a call with her friend, I would listen peacefully. I would like her poems. And like whenever she would give me a poem to read, I would always read it enthusiastically because I always had like an interest that I always want to read my sister's poems. Like I want to know what she thinks.
That's beautiful.
So honestly, I would like to say that like although he's my biggest critic in certain other aspects, but when it comes to all my creative pursuits or anything I'm doing, which is like really important for me, I think he's my biggest cheerleader. He's been like the most supportive person of all, and like I'm very grateful for that. Like he's the biggest critic when it comes to maybe playing board games or when I'm like just trying to sing along with, you know, my favorite songs. But when it comes to all of these things, I think he's been my biggest supporter, even when it comes to, you know, just it's like us versus moms in certain cases, you know, those kind of things. So for sure, like he's been my biggest cheerleader out of all.
So
for
that
sure.
was a Rakhi moment right there. So pre-Rakhi moment, basically.
For sure.
Lovely.
I'm sure there would be many more amongst us who would have some question or some query of interest, and you are going to catch up very shortly with Nehal and pose those questions, and maybe up close and personal get into a more interactive mode, if not in public in general. So I leave that to you. But definitely, from what we have collected, there's going to be a lot of introspection as we continue and we are on our way back and get back home. And as we probably close our eyes tonight to think about the book launch and more so the words of wisdom and the pearls of wisdom from Nehal. So friends, I'm going to invite you very shortly to have you with your books personalized and signed by the author, but not before. We have a few words finally from the young lady herself, the final word to share her appreciation to each one of you.
So please bear with me for a couple of minutes because I really believe that I could not have done this alone, and there are some people who are very important, who are and have been very important in the process of this entire publishing. And today's day, the entire book launch, everything would be incomplete if I did not thank them. So please just bear with me. So the first and foremost, I would like to thank Rajesh Uncle and his team. Like it has already been mentioned, Rajesh Uncle is himself an internationally published author and an expert consultant. He has been my mentor, a guide through every process of publication of the book, and I really believe I can achieve every milestone with his support and guidance. So thank you very much, Uncle. Next, I would like to thank Lubaina ma'am for being here, taking out her precious time and gracing today's event.
Let's give her a long and loud round of applause, I think. Thank you very much.
It has truly been one of the best experiences just conversing with you and interacting with you. You are a wonderful person from what the short interaction we've had, and thank you so much again. I would now like to thank some of the esteemed people who believed in me, pre-read my book and wrote testimonials. I would like to thank Dr. Bala, who is one of the world's leading heart transplant surgeons. Miss Dolly Jain, who is a world record holder and an internationally acclaimed drape artist. Mr. R.S. Goenka, who is one of the leading industrialists in our country today. Miss Vishakha Mulye, who is one of the most successful and inspirational women of our country. I would especially like to thank Shaswat Goenka, who has been a guide. He has provided purposeful guidance not only for the book, but also in my dream of achieving global education. Shaswat Bhaiya is honestly an inspiration for all the youngsters out there today, and I'm so grateful to have his support and his guidance for every single thing. I would also like to thank Abhay Pandey, who is very well known in the world of venture capital. Abhay uncle has been a personal source of inspiration, and not just for his professional success, but I really admire him for all the kind and social work he does. And well, since he lives only like a couple floors above my apartment, I'm trying to adapt some of his skills flowing through the walls. Next, I would like to thank a very important entity, which is my school. It has been an integral part into shaping me into the person I am today and instilling the value system I have. So my school is Cathedral and John Kunon, and thank you, Mrs. Isaacs, thank you, Dr. Parmar, thank you, Mrs. Shukla, and all my teachers at the school for helping me become the person I am today. Needless to say, very special people, that the rainbow of my emotions which have been expressed through the poems have largely been possible due to my friends. So I want to thank each and every one of my friends for being who they are, for all the beautiful memories and all the wonderful moments. I love each one of you all a lot. So thank you for being who you are. Now, I would like to thank the members of Lodha Bellissimo, all my uncles and aunties who are extended family to me. Thank you so much for always supporting my endeavors, for taking out your precious time and being here on my big day. I am very grateful to know all of you guys. Now, I would like to thank very important people, and like just thanking them would be undermining all the role that they've played in my life. My parents and my grandparents, they have been the shaping personas in my life, and I can't express enough. No one can actually put it in words how important the role of parents and grandparents are. So although I am giving them this formal thanks, I don't think it will be enough for everything that has been done, for their unconditional support, unconditional love, and constant encouragement. Now,
Yes, let's echo that clap for the parents, very deserving.
Now I would like to thank last but definitely not the least, someone who motivates me every single day. My younger brother Vaibhav, if you could please come on the stage. This guy right here, although he's younger than me, he inspires me every single day. He's the constant source of my joy, and I am so grateful to have him as my younger brother, because although he's younger and there's a mutual learning process. I learn so much from him, not just about, the latest technology, the latest trends, but also about how to be a kind and compassionate person. And honestly, I am so sure that with his curiosity to learn, with his dedication and willpower to achieve what he wants, and just his compassion and kindness, the world is his oyster, and he will succeed in any endeavor. So thank you for being the most supporting and amazing brother I could ask for. Now, lastly, I would like to thank everyone who is here today. Thank you for being here, supporting me on my special day. And thank you to the Crossword team for organizing this event. This event would not have been this special if you guys weren't here. I would just like to end with a couple of lines which I think I follow for my everyday life and is especially relevant for this moment. With gratitude in my heart, I would like to thank God for this opportunity to live the moment. And with modesty in my eyes, I would like to thank myself for being able to live up to it. So thank you so much for everything, and just a big thank you to everyone, because I am so grateful to be surrounded by such amazing, capable, talented, and loving people. Thank you.
On behalf of Crossword, congratulations to you once again, Nehal, and wishing you many more successes, all the very best.
Thank you.
And also a big thank you to Lubaina. Thank you so much for taking us through this engaging conversation and bringing alive the essence of the book and the author.
Lovely to
It has been unbelievably a pleasure, and definitely moments to cherish, not just for the evening, but a lifetime and beyond. And a big thank you to each one of you for your valuable time, for sharing with us this evening and making this a very grand and truly enjoyable experience, not just for the discussion on the book, but for life in general. And I'd like to remind you that copies of the book are available in the store for signing. If you'd like to have it personalized, don't miss out on this opportunity. You can also gift this book to whomsoever you would consider interested in poetry, in philosophy, and much more. So you can have that book personalized for your friend or family or anyone whom you would like to gift the book to as well. And if you miss out on this evening, we also have the copies of the book available at crossword.in. I'd like to also invite you, we've got light refreshments. Do stay with us. Join us for the light refreshments as well as for the signing. But right now, before we say goodbye, we've got a very special token of appreciation to Lubaina. Thank you very much for being here with us, and we'd like to express it through the hands of our author, Nehal. And this is a very special way of just saying thank you.
Thank you. There's no need for this.
I also would like to invite Mr. Rajesh Jain. We have an expression of gratitude and appreciation through the hands of Nihal. Thank you very much for making this book possible and for your contribution to the launch, Mr. Rajesh Jain from Janus Advisory Services.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
That there is a dilemma here, that her originality comes only when she thinks that she doesn't have to publish. She is writing for herself. And then the best part is the world should know it. So you write the way you write, but come to me.
So I think we are going to retain the rights always with Janus Advisory Services. So thank you very much. We'd like to invite those of you who would like to have your copies personalized and pick up a copy. You may join us for the signing, while we also invite you to join us for the light refreshments. Thank you for being here with us, and we look forward to you joining us once again for a very engaging book launch, and of course going through the books in the store on the stands and having your good company. Thank you.